I left my wife after discovering she was secretly planning a new life with another man. I confronted her lies and started over from scratch. Now, months later, I'm living my best life, focusing on myself, and I even forgave both of them. Hey Reddit, first time posting after seeing lots of stories here, and I figured this might finally be a place for a 31M like me to vent about what happened. I was with my soon-to-be ex-wife, Clara, 28F, for a total of 7 years, and we've been married for 5. Given our careers, kids were never in our plans, but we'd often talk about our future together, travel, goals, even the house of our dreams. We almost never disagreed about where our life was heading. Our relationship was like we were always on the same wavelength. That was true until this year. Clara started her new job in February. There she met a coworker, Marcus, 38M. After 2 weeks away at conduct training, she got home and I saw she was texting this guy a lot. I've never been that jealous type. Both Clara and I work in a male-dominated industry, so she's always had male friends and confided in men outside our marriage. That never bothered me. I trusted her completely and never once questioned her boundaries or intentions. But this time, something felt different. She was glued to her phone, messaging Marcus constantly. I brought it up a couple of times in March, and she told me not to worry. He's just a friend, she kept saying. He's married, he's into the same stuff I am, and he's a Christian like me. I'm not religious. She even assured me she could stop talking to him if I really felt uncomfortable about it. But I told her I understood, since another round of job training was coming up soon at the end of March. I knew not to try to put my foot down. I didn't want to stifle her. I even kept asking her, before all of it, if she was happy in our marriage, seeing if there was anything I could do better. She always said everything was great. Even called me the best thing that ever happened to her. And then late March hit, and Clara was off again for a month-long work training. The first few days she was away, everything seemed normal. We texted and talked, just like usual. But after about a week, something just shifted. We suddenly started arguing a lot, something that hadn't happened between us in ages. Part of it was on me. I admit I was emotional and had stuff going on in my life that made me more sensitive than usual. But at the same time, I could tell she was getting distant and would suddenly say weird, out-of-character things about our future, like she'd stopped being on our old team. Clara and I barely ever fought, so these arguments really rattled me. I felt terrible for letting my feelings bleed into her important training, but honestly, the fights usually came down to her not really respecting the boundary I needed between her and Marcus, and knowing deep down that he was straight up pursuing her. Finally, Clara told me she needed space and time to think about our relationship and future. She said she still loved me, but not the same way anymore. I was reeling. I respected her request and gave her the space, not having a clue what was really going on behind my back. Then, just a few days later, she FaceTimed me and dropped the D word, divorce. My world literally fell apart in that moment. Even then, I somehow didn't fully realize what she was up to, though in my gut, I felt like maybe another man was involved. Mid-May comes and Clara returns home. I picked her up at the airport, and as soon as I saw her, I knew this wasn't the woman I knew for all those years. She was cold, distant, wouldn't even hug me after over a month apart. She barely even took the time to unpack her suitcase. That very first night back, she looked right at me and said, "I want out. I want a divorce. I don't love you anymore." It was brutal, sitting across from the person you thought was your partner in life and hearing that. Despite the blow, I was still clinging to hope. Maybe I disappointed her with my emotional ups and downs. Maybe the arguments during her trip pushed her away. I spent the next day trying to talk things out. Suddenly, she completely flipped, acting all cheerful, saying she wanted to clean the house and make some last good memories before I leave. It felt forced, like an act. I felt like she was lying to my face, concealing something huge. So, for the first time in 7 years together, I went through her phone. I honestly hated myself for crossing that line. It's something I'd always said I wouldn't do, but my gut wouldn't let it go. What I found knocked the wind out of me. Before she even came back, she'd already started dating Marcus and even signed a lease with him. They were planning to move in together. This all happened just a month and a half after she left at the end of March. I saw messages where she said she'd give up everything to start anew with him. I felt sick and guilty for snooping, but I took screenshots of everything and decided to act like nothing happened, just to see how far she'd go with this act. Over the next couple days, I kept probing her with small questions about Marcus and her behavior, but never got a straight answer. That night, after some heated conversation, I'd had enough and called her out. She started shifting all the blame onto me, saying it was my issues that ruined the marriage and that's why we were ending. Even then, she lied to my face, twisting reality while I sat there with proof in my hands. Finally, she decided to leave that night. The second she walked out, I messaged her every screenshot, telling her I'd known the truth all along. I was just waiting to see how long she'd keep the act going. Clara doubled down, claiming her relationship with Marcus only began after she asked for a divorce, so technically it's not cheating. She also said she wanted out for a long time, was only staying until the right moment, and started painting me out as controlling and abusive. Watching her leave, realizing that could be the last time I'd ever see the woman I loved, was one of the hardest moments of my life. I still wanted her honesty more than anything else. After 7 years of partnership, I just wanted the marriage to end with some respect on both sides. I don't understand how someone can change so much, so fast. The love she'd shown me for all those years, every memory and plan we made, suddenly vanished overnight. I know what we had was real, but how does someone walk away like that? I'm stuck with so many questions I know I'll never get answers to. Shortly after she moved out, I got a lawyer and filed for divorce myself. Clara said she didn't want anything. No bags, house, car, spousal support, nothing. She just wanted to be gone. I didn't want to be the one to end things, but couldn't risk her changing her mind. So I moved quickly and got all the paperwork signed as soon as possible. Now, 2 months have passed since she first said the word divorce. I'm doing way better, focusing on myself, starting to build a new life. Yeah, we weren't perfect together, but I never expected she'd just disappear like that and shack up with another guy in less than 2 months. What haunts me most is all the memories, everything we'd accomplished and dreamed about, the way it all collapsed because she met someone new. Maybe I'll never understand how love can evaporate so quickly, or why people run from marriage instead of facing problems. Feels like there was a recipe for failure all along, even if I couldn't see it. The way she walked away without asking for anything told me she felt guilty deep down, like she knew she'd wronged me, no matter how much she said otherwise. Final update. Okay, I know it's not exactly 6 months since my last post, but with our official divorce date coming up, I wanted to give a real update. It's been almost 6 months since I felt like my life was over, so here's what has happened since then. Over this time, I've totally focused on myself, and honestly, I'm thriving. I started traveling, a lifelong dream that kept me moving forward. Hawaii, Amsterdam, Vietnam, Taiwan, Australia, Norway, Germany. Next up are Korea, and maybe somewhere I haven't decided yet. My job is great, I'm secure in my career, and no longer stress about what's next or where life is taking me. I've seriously prioritized fitness, hitting the gym 5 days a week, eating healthier, and learning new recipes. I've also reconnected with old friends and made some new ones, trying hard to build a life where my past doesn't weigh me down. Do I still miss Clara sometimes? I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Sometimes I catch myself reminiscing, like when I went to Oslo, a city we'd always dreamed of visiting together. I snapped a photo, and out of nowhere, thought of her. It wasn't sad, just odd, like deja vu. The first 2 months after she asked for the divorce and before I learned she was with Marcus were pure hell. I won't sugarcoat it. On my birthday in June, I made a promise to myself that in a year, I'd be proud of who I'd become. And honestly, it's getting easier. The further I get from it, the less it stings. Forgiving myself took a long time, but I realized I've also forgiven both Clara and Marcus. I don't feel hate or anger anymore. Strangely, I wish them well and hope their relationship brings them what they're looking for. That wasn't always the case. At first, I was furious. I wanted things to blow up for them, but I realized carrying that hate just held me back. I don't want that for anyone, and I'm far from perfect myself. There are things I could have done better in the marriage, and all you can do is learn from it and move on. True acceptance is when you realize none of it bothers you anymore. These days, I feel normal. Still don't have a clear vision for my new future, but I know I'm lucky. I kept my house, my stuff, my savings, so I can really plan for what's next. I've dated a couple women, but honestly, being single right now is healthier for me, and I think I'll just know when I meet the right one. A friend once told me that the worst thing to ever happen to you might turn out to be a blessing in disguise. I see that now. At first, I was broken, but the more I think about everything that's happened since, the more I realize the positives. I hope anyone reading this finds some solace. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. And maybe one day Clara will see me, see how much I've grown, how well I'm doing, and regret what she lost. That shouldn't really be my goal, but it'd be satisfying. The only thing nagging at me, she seemed in this huge rush to officially get divorced, maybe so she could remarry. A part of me wonders if she's pregnant and wants to be married before the baby comes. Whatever, none of my business now. If you're going through something similar, keep going. You're doing great, even when it doesn't feel that way. That wraps up the whole story. Reflecting on this story, it's clear that betrayal can strike suddenly, even in relationships that feel rock solid. Sometimes, moving forward and focusing on self-growth is the only way to recover from an experience like this. Here is a question for you. What do you think is the hardest part about forgiving someone who broke your trust so deeply? Would you ever be able to do it? Share your thoughts below.